Now I think I've posted this notebook on Leah, so you should have it. Now we will start looking at joining RTDs together. So again, we start with the basic Spark session and Spark context. In here, I am loading the ratings folder, like the file, and I'm getting this data. And in here, I'm loading the movies data, the movies file, like movies.csv, and I'm getting a data for every movie ID. I have the name of the file, the name of the movie, and the genres that it belongs to. Now, to join multiple, to join two RDDs, you have to have key value pair in every RDD, and where the keys matches between the two RDDs, those will be joined together. So the join is similar to like the SQL join that you use in SQL, like for between tables. But in this case, like it's between key value pairs. Once the key matches, it's going to join with the elements together. So, and this is what we're going to want to transform first. So here I'm creating a ratings, something called ratings key movie ID RDD, which basically is going to give me for the ratings an RDD in which it has a key of the movie ID, and then the value is a tuple with the rest of the data. So it has the user ID, the rating, and the timestamp. And for the movies RDD, I'm also transforming something similar. So I'm getting the movie ID, the name of the movie, and actually here I'm going to use x at -1, just in case, because some of these RDDs, as we saw now, because of the comma problem, x at 2 would be the second part of the title. It wouldn't be the genre. So in this case, I'm taking x at 1, which is the first part of the name and those kind of problems, and x at -1, which is the last, which is the genre. And then I'm basically removing from the data we have the other half of the name in the cases where that occurred. I hope that made sense to everyone. So now I have these two RDDs, this one for the ratings having a key value pair, and this one for the movies also having a key value pair, and the keys in both cases are both for the movie ID. Now to join them, we can use the join function on the RDD, like on the ratings RDD, with this structure for the with the movie ID as the key, and we pass to it the other RDD that we want to join with, which is the movies key movie ID. And once we do this join, we will be left with data like this, with an RDD, a messy RDD like this. So this RDD basically did the join. We have the movie ID, and then we have a tuple, where inside the tuple, we have the value of the first RDD, and then the value of the second RDD that got joined together, which is a lot of tuples in this case. So we'll need to clear things, like to clean things up a little bit. Let me just take all of this. So this is one element in our data. In this case, x at 0 would be the movie ID. It's 1. X at 1 would be this whole thing. So x at 0, at 1, 0 would be this. X at 1, 1 would be this whole thing. And then you got the idea, like x at 1, 0, 1 would be the user ID, which is this one right here. So we need to clean things up and just put like the movie ID and the rest of the data all together. So how can we do that? With tuples, you can add tuples together. So if I have here X, like a tuple of 1 and 2 and another tuple of 3 and 4, and I put a plus between them, the result is one tuple with 4 elements, 1, 2, 3, 4. So can we do something similar? The answer is yes, we can. So let's say we want to, this is our RDD that we're looking at it right here. Yeah, Jordan.
I'm confused on why user ID is X101. Because if
well, when we created these RDDs to be joined together, we made the key to be the movie ID that was used for the joining. What's left in the data of this RDD was the user ID, the rating, and the timestamp. So okay. Once the joining occurred, the movie's IDs matched, and then we got the value of the first RDD with the value of the second RDD next to each other. So this is the value coming from the first RDD, which has the user ID, the rating, and the timestamp. So now at X1, X1 would be this whole thing. X1 at 0 would be this whole thing. X1 at 0 at 1. Oh, yeah, you're right. X1 at 0 is this whole thing. X1 at 0 is the user ID. X1 at 0 at 1 is the rating.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so let's try and clean this up. Now, one more thing, like we said, if we have this tuple and this tuple and we add these tuples together, we get this. But what if we also have like the number 5? How can we add number 5 to it? Let's see what happens if we just add number 5. Well, we cannot add an integer to a tuple. How can we make them all one tuple with the element, with the value of number 5?
Wrap 5 in a tuple.
Okay, so I create 5 in a tuple. I put 5 in a tuple of one element. If I do it this way, this is not a tuple because these parentheses will be processed as if they are like in the arithmetic kind of operation of parentheses. So to make it a tuple, you need to add the comma at the end. Now this becomes a tuple of one element, which is 5. If we run this, now this is a tuple, gets added to this tuple, and gets added to this tuple. And we are returning with this. So now let's take all of that and process all of this. So we want the movie ID, but the movie ID is not a tuple. So we're gonna put it in a tuple just similar to how we did with the 5 right here. So X at 0 would be the movie ID. And we just created a tuple with just the movie ID in it. And then we're gonna add the values here of this, like we're gonna add this tuple to it, which is at X10. And then we're going to add this tuple right here, which is at X11. So now if we take these, and here's our data, our clean data. The movie ID, the user ID, the rating, the timestamp, the name of the movie, and the genres of the movie.